All right, hello, my little artist friends. So today we are going to learn about a new artist named Heather Galler. Heather Galler is from New York, and she is a contemporary folk artist. So a contemporary artist is an artist who is still alive and is still making art today. So she's still painting today. And a folk artist is something we are about to learn about. So if you were to go to an art school to learn how to paint, they would teach you how to paint realistically. So, realism is the type of art where things look exactly like they look in real life, or at least as close as you can possibly make them look to real life. So, if we're looking between this painting, this is the Mona Lisa, and this painting right here, which one do you think is the realism? Right. If you said the Mona Lisa, then you are absolutely right. The Mona Lisa is a realistic painting by Leonardo da Vinci. This painting over here, which is also of a woman, is not realistic. This is actually a folk art. This is by Heather Galler. She made this painting. So, what are the main differences that we see between these two paintings? How about the colors? How are the colors different? Yeah, so the Mona Lisa has kind of muted colors, so they're a little bit darker. They're not as bright. Over here, we have really bright colors. We've got a wide variety of colors going on. And then, of course, some major differences are that there are just some different things in here as well. So she has a bird on her and a flower. She's holding an umbrella back here. She has a necklace on. What do we notice about the different shapes that we see in here? What about the shapes? Well, we don't really see a whole lot of shapes over here. We do see maybe a landscape behind Mona Lisa over here, but we're not really seeing shapes so much. It's more of a landscape. Over here, we're seeing very easy to spot shapes. So we're seeing some little half circles right here. We're seeing a big V shape. We're seeing a circle here, lots of circles for her necklace. Even on her cheeks are big pink circles. There's also lots of circles and even some checkerboard squares down here on the floor behind her. So we are seeing a lot of repeated shapes and colors. Does anyone know what the name is? It starts with a P for repeated shapes or colors. The word is pattern. So we're seeing lots of patterns in Heather Galler's folk art. So this is called folk art because it is different from the type of art that they would teach you to make in art school, which would be realistic art. Does this look like a realistic person? Do you think that there's somebody who looks exactly like this walking around? No, probably not. Not quite. The nose doesn't exactly look like a real person, and the eyes are pretty stylized. So the artist made it in her own style, her own folk art style. So let's take a look at a couple of other things that Heather Galler has made. So she also makes things called commissioned portraits. A commissioned artwork is when an artist paints or makes some sort of artwork for someone and gets paid to do it. So someone in these cases brought her a picture of their kitty cat and said, "Will you please paint my kitty cat for me?" And they paid her some money and gave her the picture, and then she painted their kitty cat for them in her folk art style. What do we see in these little kitty cat portraits? Do they look exactly the same as the pictures that she was painting from? No, they don't look exactly the same, right? But they do show that the kitty is sitting in the exact same position as he or she was in the picture. Do the backgrounds look the same? No, not quite. Because over here we can see the kitty is sitting in a window in this picture. We can see some buildings in the background. But in the portrait that she painted, she just made some stripes in the background with different patterns like we talked about before. And the cat is completely filled with patterns. She hasn't even used one color that the cat has in real life. She's just filled this kitty cat with all sorts of different colors, stripes, patterns, and shapes. Down here, does the background look the same or at least similar as it does in the picture? Yeah, so this one looks a little bit closer to the picture. We're still using different colors and different shapes, but we can see that this is a striped blanket. Maybe the cat's sitting on a bed. She still has those same stripes going in the same direction, but she's added some more patterns and used different colors over here. And this kitty is also sitting in the same position as he was in the picture that she was given to paint from, but she has used lots of different bold colors and thick black lines instead of making him look realistic. So let's look at some last ones that we're going to look at. This is another commissioned portrait. This one's of someone's dog. So you can see a big thick line in the back where you can see maybe where the wall is back here with the gold and the white circles. And then down here, maybe the dog is laying on a rug and you can see the patterns in the rug. There's so many colors and patterns going on, just like in the other portraits we saw. So today we are going to be making our own Heather Galler inspired artwork, but we are going to be doing collage instead of painting. And we are going to be making a winter themed project. So we are going to be making hot cocoa mugs with little marshmallows in them. And we're going to have a table and the wall in the background as well. And we're going to fill it with our bold outlines and our colorful patterns. So let's go ahead and we'll get started on that. So in order to make our Heather Galler inspired artwork, we're going to make a mug that is filled with either hot chocolate or maybe coffee if you like that, or you can put whatever kind of drink you think you'd want in it. We're just going to color it in. We're starting, since this is a collage, with 3 different colors of paper. You'll want one paper is going to be your background. So this is going to be your full paper that you paste stuff on. So mine's going to be yellow. And then you're going to want one piece of paper for your table. So this just needs to cover at least half of your big paper. So I'm going to make mine pink and I would just paste it right there. You can cut a piece of paper to fit nicely there. And then you'll need one piece of paper that is a different color from the first 2 for your mug. And we're going to draw it out and then cut it out of this paper. And then optional, I have a white piece of paper and I'm going to cut some marshmallows out of here and I'm going to paste them inside of my mug because I'm going to have some hot chocolate in there. So the first step, we're going to start with drawing out our mug. So go ahead, I'm going to use some crayons. You could use markers or something else. So I'm going to start with my black crayon. And I am going to start to draw my mug. So let's take a look at this shape. This is a cylinder, just like a mug would be. So if it were open right here, that would be kind of what a mug looks like if it cut off about here and then had a little handle. So you can kind of visualize that. So it's going to be at this angle where we can see this is a circle on the top, but it's kind of squished together as you turn it. So we have an oval. So we're going to start with an oval. Then we're going to, at the 2 points of the oval, draw 2 straight lines. And then we're going to make a curved line for the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with our oval. I'm going to go to the top of my paper and make my oval just a squished circle. Make my oval. And then I'm going to find one side of my oval, one of the points. I'm going to draw a straight line down however far I want my mug to be tall. So I think I want mine to be about that long. So I'm going to go over to the other side and I'm going to draw a straight line that goes about down to the same point but over here. And now I'm going to find the bottom of my first line that I made, and I'm going to curve down and back up to end my little mug shape. So now what is our mug missing that most mugs have? A handle, right? So if you happen to not have a whole lot of room over here, we can actually make our handle down here since we're going to cut it out. So I'm going to turn my paper and I'm just going to make my mug down here flying around on this piece of paper. And then I am going to, when we cut out our mug, we can paste it on our paper and put our mug's handle right where it's supposed to go. So if you have room over here to draw your mug handle, then you can absolutely do that. See, I would have a little bit of room there, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it down here just in case you have run out of room next to your mug. So down here, I'm going to draw a C shape. So I'm going to draw a big C, but I'm going to make it almost have a corner on the two little curves of my C. So kind of like that. So it's like a big long C that almost comes a little bit to a corner right there. So once you have that, about a fingertip length away from one of the points where you ended, you're going to start a line and you're going to stay a fingertip length away and go all the way around. You're just making a smaller version of that line that you just made, of that C shape you just made on the inside. So this would be your mug's handle. And then we can even close off those shapes with a little curved line. All right. So now that I have my handle and my mug, we are going to add some beautiful colors and patterns in here, just like Heather Galler did. So let's think of some different patterns that we can make in here. So I can make different stripes, different shapes. I can even make some checkerboard. So I'm going to use some black, and then I'm also going to use some other colors. So I'm going to make a zigzag line. So I'm just going up and down to little points across my mug. And then I'm going to use a different color. I think I'm going to use a dark purple. And I'm going to make some triangles all the way across, right underneath where I put those zigzag lines. All right, so I've filled in the rest of my pattern that I want on my mug. Now is one of the more fun parts. I'm going to add in my hot chocolate up here. So I'm going to grab a brown crayon for my hot chocolate color. And I'm going to fill in this whole oval. I'm going to go a little bit below the lip of the mug on the outside. And then I'm just going to fill in the whole circle with my hot chocolate. I'm going to go ahead and cut my mug out. We're going to bring back my table and my wall. So let's go ahead and let's add a pattern to our table. So I think I'm going to do checkerboard on my table. Let me decide what color I'm going to use. Maybe I'll go with orange and red. I'll do red for the stripes and then orange to fill in the checkerboard. So you can do any pattern you want. I'm just choosing to do checkerboard. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in with a checkerboard pattern since that's the one I want to use. All right, so now I've got my checkerboard pattern on my table. And the last thing I need to add patterns to is my wall. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to glue down my table on top of my wall, down on the bottom. So I'm going to flip this over, put some glue, and I'm going to flip it over and put it right on top of the bottom where the table would be. All right, so I've got that glued down. Now I'm going to add a pattern up here. Let me think. I might do a combination of some different shapes and lines. So I'll come back as soon as I've got that done. All right, so I decided to use some squiggly lines and some triangles and squares in my background. So now we're ready to glue our mug down. So we're gonna place our mug right down on our table. Decide how far down on our table you want it to be. So I'll put mine right about here, I think. And then you'll position where you want your handle to be. If you want it to go behind it or in front of it. Or if your handle was attached the whole time, then that's good too. It'll go down with your mug. I'm gonna glue down my mug first and then add my handle. All right, so now we're gonna do just a couple more finishing details. So I'm gonna add some marshmallows up here, and I'm also gonna add some lines for steam coming out of my mug so I can show how hot my hot cocoa is. So I'm gonna take my little white scrap piece of paper, and I'm gonna start by finding a spot where I wanna draw some steam lines. So I'm gonna just have some lines of steam that go up here. So I'm gonna use my black crayon, I'm gonna draw them. I'm just holding it above my mug so that I know kind of how big to make them. So I'm just making some wiggly lines, and then I'm going to make them into a shape by adding another wiggly line right by it and then closing it with little curves. So I'll put one right over here that maybe goes a little bit taller than the first one. And then I'll do one last one right here. So there's my little wiggly lines. And then for my marshmallows, I'm gonna have little squares that are just a little bit round. And then I'm gonna cut all of these shapes out and I'm gonna glue them down where they go on my artwork. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these out and then I'll come back and I'm gonna glue them. All right, so now I'm gonna glue down my little steam snakes. They kind of look like snakes wherever I want them to be placed. And I'm also going to glue my little marshmallows where I want them. So I hope that you enjoyed this project and learning a little bit about a new artist, Heather Galler, and her artwork. If you did this project and you enjoyed it a lot, I would love for you to take a picture and check in with me on the Google form and let me know that you enjoyed it and let me see your beautiful artwork. Bye.